you for joining Howie and Beast Mode, our business growth strategies and execution podcast today. Beast Mode, thanks for joining.
Hey, Brian, Howie, it's always so great to be with you. You know, it's just wonderful to continue our conversation every week.
It is a pleasure for sure. You know, it's kind of unprecedented time that we're in right now, though, with obviously the virus, and you know, many of us are stuck at home. What's going on with you?
Yeah. I think we're all awakened to a couple of new norms. You know, for me, I'm trying to stay as focused as I can each and every moment. That business still has to be business. There still needs to be met. But again, at the same time, now there's something that draws us all together. And so being able to enjoy that conversation. I mean, so many phone calls today and over the past week or so where now we have something that just automatically unites us. You know, normally they would say, ask about the weather, you know, because everybody has to deal with the weather. But now you can ask about this and you can get personal on that. So
it's good. Yeah.
You?
It is good. It's good. You know, both of my girls are at home right now, one of them from college, one of them from high school. And, you know, they don't really understand the gravity of the situation, I would say. So I'm having a hard time keeping them in the house and keeping them from going absolutely crazy. But we have had some good family times from that. We're discovering some new shows and stuff like that. And they're, for the most part, letting mom and dad work. Now we're both working from home. Normally I work from the office. So yeah, we're doing okay for the most part. I mean, even I'm going a little crazy. I don't think I've left the house. I mean, I know I haven't left the house in 2 days. I'm trying to remember the last time I left. It's been a minute for sure. But as the gravity of the situation is, you know, coming to all of our collective minds, I mean, it's certainly worth the sacrifice, but it's just hard to explain to the kids.
Yeah. And so for me, what I try to focus on, and again, both of us are faith-based guys, is that we're all going through this together. And there's an opportunity for each of us, if we choose to say, tell me about what's going on in your life. How is your situation different than mine? How can I be empathetic towards you? How can I listen into your situation? Because right now, again, they're telling everybody, stay to yourself, keep to yourself. And, you know, a lot of times it's the exact opposite, but you can do the exact opposite without running around outside. You know, you can be empathetic and say on social media, you can be empathetic, you know, in your emails and in your phone calls. And so that's really where my focus has been.
That's really good. Yeah. I mean, looking at how we can encourage one another. So the other night I was talking to my girls and saying a little prayer with them in the evening and talking, you know, through them. And my oldest daughter, I don't know if I've told you this story, but she, even though she's a college girl, but she, you know, she had some anxiety about the situation, and we were both trying to laugh about it. We even got giggly about it. So that's good. But, you know, underlying all that was some real tension. And the thing that came to my heart during the conversation with both of my girls just washed over me with a sudden peace. And it kind of left me with a purpose, almost like waves on a beach that wash something up and deposit something. And what was deposited with me is that, now again, I take this from a Christian perspective, but you guys, anybody can take this from their own personal perspective. And that is that we can be ambassadors of hope for one another right now, like Jordan was saying, and just reaching out to someone and just checking, you know, calling and texting, you know, 2 friends, you know, checking on someone who's a little bit older, you know, making sure someone has a meal, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, I think as that unfolds, my family and I will look for those opportunities. I found one personal opportunity on LinkedIn to do something creative. You know, I'll be brainstorming what else can I do to kind of try to deposit something on someone else's beach, you know, just like the hope and the peace that was deposited on my beach as me and my girls were talking and saying our nightly prayers. So yeah, I think that is a really good thing that we can do. Now that's kind of from a personal level. Now from a business level, and you and I talked about this a little bit earlier today, earlier this evening, in fact, which is that, there are opportunities sometimes to help a customer with the creativity of a salesperson who tends to be the creative kind of types. The salesperson tends to be relational and creative and persistent. That's kind of a typical trifecta with the salesperson. And if we can say, let me talk to my customer, let me talk to my prospect, let me find out what's going on and see if there's something that I do that can maybe help them in this time. So I think that's one thing, is being creative, right? Using our creativity and our persistence. We have to have some courage, because right now we, of course, want to, you and I talked about, we want to reach out with compassion, but then we also have the courage to actually reach out and not be nervous. It's not inappropriate for us to call, but you want to do that with compassion, and you don't want to be pushy. And you also were talking about some things kind of along these lines as well, that are kind of in your mind and heart right now as you're working with customers too.
Yeah. You got to keep going despite everything else. And you're going, again, when people hear that, they probably shudder and think, that means you're calling them 5 times. No, that's not it at all. What you're doing is you're calling and saying, hey, we're on the same plane together. We're going the same direction. We both dealing with the same circumstance. How's your family? How's mine? I'm glad everything's going well, or maybe God forbid something's not going well. And you take an opportunity to say, you know what, this is bigger than business. Let's talk about that. Can you shed some light on me? Can I listen? And in that circumstance, then you just say, hey, we'll follow up in a couple of weeks. But if they don't have the personal circumstance, that's going on, then you just remind them, hey, I know we're here. There is a bigger picture, and your need that you had 2 weeks ago is still here today. I know that it sometimes it puts it in perspective, maybe that it's not as big a deal. And if that's the case, then again, from my perspective as a sales individual, or as development or marketing, whatever your role is, then you're just saying, then if that's not that big a deal, then what is the real issue? Because you still have a problem at work. You still have a problem, and there's still a need for you. And if I'm not the answer, then great. Then my job is to help you. It's still to help you clarify what your problem is. At the end of the day, whether I'm your solution or not, my job is to help you clarify what you're looking for.
That's good. Yeah. Clarify. That's great. And also, so reminding the customer of projects and needs and helping refocus them. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Now, what about branding right now? I know you're big into branding. It's a passion of yours. What should brands be thinking about right now? So creativity is one of them, of course. Both of us kind of touched on that. But what are some other factors during this downturn that brands can really be thinking about?
Yeah, to piggyback real quick though, whenever you're reminding somebody, it really helps. I take notes in all my phone calls, and just in my calendar invite, I just have running notes. So then whenever you come across a circumstance like today, you can just say, hey, I was looking back through our notes just because I want to be a good steward of your time. I understand. You're just pointing out what's going on. But I do remember that a month ago on this date, you just said this, and I know that problem is still here. Have you solved it? No? Okay, then let's get back to how we solved that. And so then that's how you jumpstart that without coming across pushy. From a branding perspective, what you want to do is, again, we've talked about it a little bit earlier, is you can't come across and saying, I'm the only one going through this. And a lot of brands are making that wrong decision by saying, I'm cutting my prices. I still need your business. I have to have your business. They're doing things like that. They're putting it out there saying that basically what it says to their consumer or customer is that I'm the one going through this. You're not going through this. And that's such a negative vibe. It just hurts my heart to see people do that when they should be saying, I'm with you. We're going through this together. Come, let's do this together. Let's join. Let's create a victory strategy, whether it's a victory meal, whether it's a lot of restaurants you see are going to go and take out only, and that's great. They want to be able to produce something, but how can you still make that a victory for somebody else, as opposed to, saying, buy 5, get 2 free, come right now or else, which
I had a brand do that with me today. We talked about setting up a call and, getting a killer deal, from them. And they were like, well, the killer, because I said I wanted to talk in about 3 weeks. And when I wanted to talk to them, I wanted to talk about a really killer deal. Right. And they were like, well, we got to be clear. We're interested in a killer deal, but we're interested in one this month. And I was just like, wow, that's pretty forceful. And that was kind of a, it's kind of a sales culture issue, I think, where they're being pushy. I was kind of offering an olive branch, like, I know you're going to need some deals in 3 weeks. I would love to get a great deal on this. It's kind of intent-based marketing solution. Yeah. And I'm super interested in possibly, acquiring some leads from them. But, I want a special economic downturn deal. Throw me a deal. I will give you from zero to hero on something that there's nothing forecasted, because they have nothing forecasted because we're just learning about them, but I would consider it. And they were kind of hard selling me. So you look at stories like that, where the culture's coming through and the brand's coming through. It's like showing who you are. And then you told me earlier about Dollar General, and I don't want to steal your thunder, because that's an example of a great brand doing something kind of cool. So what's that story now?
Yeah, so I know we both read it. I just happened to remember the title of the brand.
I only read the title, and you read the whole thing. So you definitely win the detail award.
Yeah. So Dollar General, well, at least I think there's a couple of brands doing it. That's the one.
Oh,
that
really?
I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Dollar General, what they're doing is they're opening the first hour of their day towards elderly individuals only who are having difficulty acquiring what their needs, giving them the opportunity to come in there again with hopefully less crowds, with hopefully less hassle, to where they can acquire what they need for their day. Again, whether or not, because again, let's just be real, if they're out of toilet paper, you can come in as early as you want. They're still out of toilet paper. But what they're doing is they're putting themselves out there and saying, here's somebody that's in need. I see them. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. I see you in your need.
Right.
And not only do I see you, but I'm willing to do something about it. Even though that hour I could use to, there's a lot of people that I could market to in that hour that probably generate me more revenue dollars in that moment.
It's good.
But long term says, hey, if I see these people, which again is probably part of their mission, which is probably why they see them to begin with. Okay. So again, going back to being clear on what we're doing, then what they're able to do is show, even if I lose money today, maybe it generates me something long term, but maybe what it does to gets Howie and Beastmode to talk about it for 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Howie and Beastmode have hundreds of thousands of people.
We have hundreds of zeros.
Family members. Yeah.
hundreds of family members.
Yeah.
I think that's a great story for sure. And we all remember, brands that are doing that kind of thing, across our lives. Hopefully we can inspire, and maybe, going back to the sales aspect of our lives, maybe we can inspire brands in our interactions to do something like that. Maybe that's one way we can stimulate an idea for them.
Yeah, hopefully there's a way that we can stimulate some brands to reach out there and say that, this, what's going on around me is bigger than just me. And hopefully it's not just during a crisis, that they can make a lasting change and say, whether there's a coronavirus or whether there's nothing going on, I want to be able to see these people around me, because those people are part of my mission. Those are the people who, that's who we're doing business for. Do these other people come in? Great. That's awesome. But I want to be able to see somebody in my daily walk.
I was talking to you earlier about, things that we did during, after the .com bubble burst in 2000, 2001, and then 2008. And I told you about some special tactics that we used. And you said, why couldn't those continue, or something along those lines? And I said, well, they could, and I do think that if we can mentally say to ourselves, the tune-up process of going through a downturn, that tune-up, it can be a sharpening, not a destroying thing to us. Mm-hmm. And so looking at it like that, where you're saying, can't we continue some of those special ideas that we come up with? Because I told you, like, I actually gave my guys, my whole sales team, a steak dinner at Del Frisco's if they would stuff, I think it was 250 envelopes, and then I stuffed envelopes myself for them, and we got sales out of that, and we got enterprise software deals from doing that, and that personal hand signed, typed, but then hand signed letter to them personally, about what we're doing, what we're up to, and how we can help, and that kind of thing. And even in, at the time, that was by the time we did that, that was 2002. So the economic downturn was still there. But people even by then were so digital with email that people weren't really doing letters. Letters and faxes were kind of gone from the sales repertoire. It was mostly emails and banner ads and websites and stuff by then. And so, could we continue doing personal touches like that? And I think you would say, I mean, there's people right now online that they will do handwritten letters for you. And so the answer is, yeah, some of the things that we learn during this tough time can be a sharpening, and we can learn to continue those things, moving forward.
Yeah, we better learn something from this. Each individual and everybody collectively, we better learn something from this. Otherwise, it's all for naught. Mm-hmm. You went through a heartache and you didn't take anything out the other side. So you better be learning something each and every day. Now, I think my exact phrase was, why can't that be the new norm?
Okay, good. Right.
Because yes, we can learn something. Yes, this works, but it's like, it's going to work. It would work even more whenever the situation.
When the economy's not on its knees.
Yeah.
How pleasant it would be to get a letter from someone hand signed. Of course. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And so it's just one of those things that it just resets. And I guess the easiest thing that we can all pinpoint, that we can all relate to, whether we're in sales or marketing, is right now you see everybody's hyper-focused on cleanliness, right? Yeah. And we got to do over and above this, that, and other. But what you're finding out is before this, there was like a week or 2 weeks time frame where everybody was hyper-focused and doing it. But it was like, now it's a new norm. Now there's no going back. And so now, whether you're at the gym or whether you're at McDonald's or whatever, now they have a new SOP that says this is what we have to do because we're not going to let this happen again. So we take that same mentality, but now we bring it over to sales, or we bring it over to marketing, or we bring it over to branding, and just say, this is our new norm. We learn from this. And so we're not capitalizing on a negative circumstance. What we're doing is we're letting it drive creativity, letting it drive innovation.
We're evolving. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, we see businesses that don't evolve, or that evolve too slow and they go out of business.
Industries you see that don't,
Like, Blockbuster's way too famous, but there's a lot of other examples, like newspapers. People who can't evolve or won't evolve.
Even Netflix.
Yeah. Well, Netflix is kind of a success because
not Netflix, Redbox. I meant.
Yeah, Redbox. Yeah, but Netflix was not a bad example because I think they still do the mail order stuff. I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah. But yet they themselves created their own evolution. Yeah. And they kind of sparked their own change, and that all of that. And then actually their third wave of change is becoming a content creator and starting to become less dependent on the big studios, which was really smart. And they've had some really big hits like Stranger Things. So they've had 3 waves of innovation, if not more, but 3 big ones. I think, continue to use these opportunities to, although it's a downturn, using it to sharpen instead of seeing it as a destruction is a really big thing. And even if you are down, it doesn't have to mean that you're out. I personally started a website, as back in 2010, where I lost $125,000 out of my retirement and 3 years of work. 3 years of work just to build it, and then it ran for 2 or 3 years before I shut it down. So really, I could say 6 years of work, and at the time, half my retirement. Huge setback. And so what I wish I would have had someone mentor me at the time to say, listen, you had a Okay.
All right, Brian. So we got disconnected, but that's
Yeah.
okay. It's
Thanks,
just one of
Wi-Fi.
those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So finish up. Where were you at?
Yeah. I mean, the general spirit of it was that, when my website failed, I thought failure was failure, but I would not tell anyone that now. And it's become more popular to understand that when you have a business or a startup failure, that's a really big lesson. I mean, your dad had 3 or 4, and now he has, a business that's lasted for 38 years. So what if you had stopped at failure number 2?
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
a big lesson that all of us can really try to learn from right now is maybe laugh at it a little bit and take it a little bit more lighthearted. I know bills have to happen, and I don't want anyone to lose their car or have anything happen to them financially. So we do have to work really, really hard. And some people may have to do some other things to try to make ends meet. I understand that it's a hard time, but if we can take this as a time and not an eternal, and so as a season and not as a forever, and if we can learn from it and sharpen and make sure that, and I think you said it well, which was that we've got to learn from this time, and we just, that's it. We have to learn from this time. We better get something out of this time, and sharpening is one good one. I'll leave you with one story. I think I told you this earlier tonight, but I haven't on the podcast yet, which is that when I took over a sales team in 2008 during the downturn, first of all, I was warned not to take a new job during the downturn. I get it. I'm sympathetic. That would have been wise. But I felt like I was supposed to do it, and it was the right fit. Well, 3 months into the job, we all took a 10% pay cut, the whole company, in order to save jobs. So it's kind of a good trade-off. You get to save jobs, and yeah, it hurts, but okay. But I was also asked to take on a whole nother sales team. So I had like the current customer team, and now I had the new business team. And one of the things that I observed after, I don't know, just a very short time on the new business team during this downturn was that we were offering 30-day trials of our software. And so I just used the downturn and that time of kind of questioning everything and sharpening, and just said to myself, why 30 days? And so we eventually got our trials down to a week. So we would do a concise, hard-hitting, value-added trial for the customer within 1 week, and we ended up setting sales records that started kind of at the tail end of the downturn, where we started having those sales records, and because they're benefiting from that sharpening that we talked about. So I think digging into your process, Jordan, during this time and asking why about everything is a great excuse, right? Working on the branding opportunities like you talked about is a great excuse. Learning things that are helping you grow your business and using those, to your point, as a continuation so that it's a sharpening that we use for the rest of our career is a great excuse as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is a great opportunity. And it's one of these things that we're either going to say, do you remember when in 2020 this happened and I've never recovered and I'm still stuck there? Or you're going to say, remember in 2020 when this happened, I approached it head on. Not only did I help myself out, but I helped so many other people. And it was such a blessing. I learned so much. But I mean, those are really the two opportunities you have. And we get to choose that. That's the best thing. We get to choose. Today, you get to wake up. Tomorrow, you get to choose again. Which avenue am I going to go down? Am I going to choose to do this today? Or am I going to choose to be stuck here?
That's good. That's really good. Making it a choice. That's really a very mindful thing to say. It's great.
Yeah. And if you're a leader, then you're choosing for more than just yourself. So you should make that choice with a lot more empathy in saying, I'm doing this not just for me. You should do it for the other people first. And then if you benefit off of it, great. But
it's good.
I know we've been rolling pretty well tonight. So I'll wrap up and say thank you, Brian, for all that you do for me and for this group. And, guys, if there's any comments or if there's any feedback, or if there's something that you would like to hear Howie and Beast Mode discuss for 20 or 30 minutes, then we'd love to hear about it. Thank you, guys. Howie, thanks again, man.
Thanks a lot.